a great American.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Week That Was. I'm Saeed Khan, and happy Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a terrific time wherever you might have been and whatever you might have been eating. And the quantity we don't need to talk about at all. All I know is that my local gym was packed with people who were atoning for how much they must have eaten yesterday. So yours too, Fish?
Yeah, we had the same thing.
Yeah. There were a lot of people who looked like they were really straining today. So anyways, joining us today for looking at a roundup are attorneys Joel Sklar and Steve Fishman. Bill Seikaly, I'm afraid, is not with us. Maybe he might join in later. We shall see. Labor and community activist Barb Ingalls, veteran journalist Nancy Derringer, and of course, co-founder of Deadline Detroit, Allan Lengel. So a little bit of an audible from what we had planned on talking about, because of course the news never sleeps, even on Thanksgiving. There was 2 days ago an incident in Washington, D.C., where two National Guard members who had been deployed to the nation's capital pursuant to the president's order to do so. These two from West Virginia, despite the fact that a judge had declared this deployment to be illegal, were shot. Both critically, one having succumbed to her injuries. The suspect has been taken into custody while he was himself wounded in the apprehension. An Afghan by the name of Rahmanullah Lakanwal, who had been allowed into the United States under the Biden administration in 2021 when the U.S. had its withdrawal from Kabul and the rest of the country, but whose asylum was approved under the Trump administration just a few months ago, traveled by car across the country from Washington State to Washington, D.C., and for reasons and rationale still yet to be determined, opened fire on these two National Guards. The president has decided that this is grounds for a permanent pause on legal migration from third world countries, as well as a re-examination of all green card holders from ostensibly these countries, as well as all applications. Thoughts on this particular incident? Yeah, Steve.
I read something this morning that I found to be very interesting, that the administration had been warned by military people that this was not a great idea to send the National Guard, that they could become targets. They're not in any way, shape, or form trained to be patrolling streets. And then they really weren't patrolling streets anyway. They were picking up garbage and doing all this kind of stuff. And it was really interesting to read that these people involved with this had warned them that this is the kind of thing that can happen. And then, of course, it happens. And what, of course, does he do? Like what he always does. One person did this, and not, like you said, Saeed, we don't know what the person's motive was. We don't know anything about it. But what we'll do is we'll just take a sledgehammer and we'll make sure nobody ever can come in here. It's standard operating procedure for the Trump administration.
Yeah,
well,
really
Steve, given the disparity between what happened, and no one is disputing its egregiousness, but the action taken, there are a lot of people out there who are speculating whether the action to be taken, or the reaction in this case, was premeditated, maybe even tracing it back to policy advisor and immigration policy czar Stephen Miller. There has been a lot of talk about finding ways to justify restricting immigration, particularly from countries of people of color. And it seems as though the president has already had this as part of his stated goal going all the way back to his first term. Is it seeming a little too convenient?
I think that's kind of what I'm saying. It does seem a little too convenient. Yes, and anytime Stephen Miller's involved in anything, you've got a pretty decent idea of where it's all heading, because he obviously has no use for anybody that's not, at least in his view, dyed-in-the-wool American, whatever that means.
Right.
Well, in the case of dyed-in-the-wool American, I'll come to you in a second, Nancy. This gentleman, Rahmanullah Lakanwal, the suspect, he's a known quantity. I mean, he was somebody with whom the military and the CIA were working in Afghanistan. And from what it seems, he was working in some very unseemly roles over there on behalf of our government, essentially in a death squad against Afghans over there. So there's that dimension to this as well. Nancy.
Well, that was the point I was going to make. I read this morning that he was a member of something called a Zero Unit during the Afghan wars, where it was formed by the CIA, and they were paramilitary groups. They worked with the CIA and with the United States, which is one reason that he was granted asylum. Remember, that was one of the big, things that all the Biden haters were going on about during the withdrawal from Afghanistan, where they said, what about these people who worked with us? They're going to be targeted by the Taliban. They're going to be killed. Well, this was one of the guys who worked with us, and he was one of the guys who got out. And he was living, in Washington State, I believe?
Yep. In Bellingham.
He was a young man, and they said he was profoundly affected by the violence that he saw and had to carry out as a member of one of these Zero Units. And, this is also the age at which, he's a little older, but it's the age at which mental illnesses frequently present themselves. And, he obviously wasn't in his right mind if he thought that just gunning down a couple of random National Guardsmen on Washington was the answer to his problems, but that's what he did. And so now we're stuck with this. And the idea, and of course, somebody like Stephen Miller is going to use this as an excuse to say, we're going to check every green card of every, non-white person in this country, and we're gonna start kicking them out. I mean, this is what we've done. This is our country now. It's a shithole. So
he's 29 years old, father of 5. I think actually, if we're really looking at algorithms for profiling, I think we should check anybody who was born or is of the age that's a prime number, because 29 is a suspicious year. So anyway,
yeah, exactly.
Right.
You pick out one incident where this happened, and it's horrific what happened. But I mean, when we look at some weekends in Chicago where there's 30, 50 shootings in one weekend, it's not immigrants who are doing that. I mean, they're trying to show that they've tried to put everything on immigrants and say immigrants are part of the reason for our crime waves in this country. But it's total bullshit. I mean, these are isolated incidents that could happen anywhere with any group of people. I mean, it could happen to anybody from a profession that just goes off the deep end, and it's criminal how they treat them.
Well, the president also said, when he was on one of his rants, he says this person, was one of these people who came over here on a crowded plane. You saw the scenes in Kabul, but he wasn't. He wasn't one of these people who was just jumping on. He was, again, somebody who was well known to the government,
right?
Who was essentially evacuated.
Yeah, he wasn't an evacuee during the mad fall of Saigon scramble. He'd been out for some time.
Yeah, and Steve.
That's what I really want to know, and what I look for from the beginning in every one of these cases is what motivated him. Why did he decide to get in his car and drive literally hundreds of thousands of miles to go shoot National Guard people? I did notice in one of the articles that unlike most people who get caught, he wasn't talking. He was exercising his right to remain silent. And unless people around him I guess he must have a wife. He's got 5 children, friends of his. Somebody I would hope would be able to explain to all of us, why is it that this happened? How did he get to that point? I understand the concept of mental illness, but why would you pick this particular thing to do to 2 people you don't know in a city that's as far away from you as you could be and whose behavior is not affecting you in any way, shape, or form? That's what I want to know.
Sure. Me too.
And I mean, it wasn't easy. I mean, driving across the country. I mean, that's a long ride. That's a long ride.
It's like people, as somebody who was a journalist during the transition from snail mail to email, I can tell you that my hate mail skyrocketed when email became, the preferred means of, and it's because it's so easy. If you were writing an angry letter to somebody, you'd have to get a piece of paper, you'd have to get a pen, or put it in your typewriter, bang, 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 put it in an envelope, find a stamp, address it, take it to the mailbox. It's like there are all these places for you to say, nah, this isn't worth it. And a cross-country drive is essentially like sending a calligraphied hate mail to Nance back in the day. So there you go. I mean, there were a lot of times when he could have said, nope, not going to do this, and turned around and gone back to his family, but he didn't.
All I know is the number of paper cuts on my tongue reduced severely once email came about. So I'm just saying. But what say you about the president's reaction? I mean, he had a press conference where he was going off on this. A reporter asked him and challenged him on the point that this individual was actually approved after going through considerable vetting process. The fact that the government would have clearly had biometrics on him because of his involvement on our behalf and on the CIA's behalf in Afghanistan itself. And the president, in a very unhinged way, just went after the reporter and said, that's a stupid question, and just simply would not accept it. There's a broader conversation going on right now where this is symptomatic of what is purported to be the president's accelerated cognitive decline. I see, Barb, you are just simply using nonverbal communication by nodding.
He hates women. He only talks to women reporters. He still yells at all the reporters, but he really does, single out women to call them stupid and piggy and ugly, and that's his thing. And I think he's been melting. His brain's been coming out of his ears for months now. Really, when he was still running. This is if you've ever seen anybody that has gone down with dementia or these things, this is how it goes. And anger and violence is a big part of it.
Yeah.
But Barb, with respect, I imagine that most people that you've had to unfortunately see in that state don't have their finger on the nuclear arsenal of this country.
And we might go to a land war this weekend. Right. It's only Friday. You guys, we have another day of this horrible shit.
And by land war, I'm sure you mean not the passing game of Michigan, Ohio State. But.
I don't think that was what I meant.
Yeah.
This is, okay. But this is, he reportedly was furious over this New York Times story a couple days ago that said basically he's showing his age, and his hours are down to 5 roughly, and he shuffles down from the residence around noon, and he's wrapped by 5 in the afternoon. So that's what they all flipped out over Biden doing, but he's an old man. I mean, he's going to be 80 in 6 months. That's.
I know
you're that age.
Are in much better shape than that. They could actually handle this job.
I know. I realize that. I think if you gave this job to Barack Obama when he was 79, he'd do a much better job. But I mean, I remember reading about his day, and it started at 5 a.m. with a workout, and there was briefings, and there was this, and there was that, and he was still reading deep into the night in the White House. And what we have now is senile Fox News grandpa who's who's worried about his ballroom, and that's about it, And
He does
thinking
watch Jimmy Kimmel, though. I think
he stays up late. I know that. So there you go.
The question's going to be though, when he continues to decompensate and deteriorate so openly and obviously, who's going to say it's time? Who's going to take away the keys? Maybe never. Right. That's the problem. He's got so many sycophants of people that will tell him your clothes look great when you have no clothes. That's a big problem. So that's scary.
But Joel, I mean, isn't that the thing that he's surrounded by a bunch of Prussian generals, the way that the Kaiser was, and who are just simply going to feed on his paranoia, his insecurities, and particularly his purported dementia, and do their bidding for being kids in the candy store of policymaking, like Stephen Miller.
But we have to remember that obviously it's a different level of incompetence, but the Biden family and the Biden people did the same thing. I mean, they hid him from everybody. He wasn't working full days, just kind of like they're describing Trump. And the reason is because they're old. And it's the reason why we don't need people 80 or 78 or 82 as the president of the United States, or a senator for that matter, in my opinion, or in the House of Representatives. I just think that we can't pretend it's only these guys that do that. These guys are sycophants, there's no doubt. But Biden's wife and those 2 or 3 guys, his dead buddies, they were just as guilty of this as what they're doing now.
So Steve, are you saying, Steve, that this is a way that Jill Biden got to stay in the White House because she's helping shield Trump from the rest of the world with all of his maladies? Because that would be so ironic.
I'm sorry, Jill Biden? What are you talking about?
Jill Biden was the one who was behind shielding Joe.
Yeah, right.
And she didn't want to leave the White House, so maybe this is her way to stay in.
Okay.
Too much.
I don't know,
Nancy.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Just my answer to the gentleman who just asked that about kicking out all old politicians. Yeah, I'm kind of at that point. Yep. Yeah. Right there. Yeah. Yes, sir. I don't know if the U.S. is ready, but I'm ready.
There's a lot of talk about this in recent months. When are people like Nancy Pelosi, who I think is still as sharp as she's ever been, and you can't just draw a bright line at a certain age and say beyond this you're worthless, and on this side of it you aren't, because there are a lot, like Barb said, there's a lot of people who age very well and are very capable of it. But John Conyers was completely checked out toward the end. I mean, he was taking his music lessons in his office and so forth. I mean, if it hadn't been for Me Too, he might still be there himself. So, who knows?
I don't know. Monica would have taken care of him.
Bernie Sanders has an amazing level of energy.
Yeah.
I wrote the damn bill.
Yeah, but Allan, that's because on his off time he sits there in that chair with his parka with his hands folded. So he's kind of he's nice sort of recharging. Well, I'll tell you something. There was a point where Trump did not fall asleep in the Oval Office this week, and in fact got quite perked up. That's when he met New York City Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani. And the red hearts that were emanating from the top of his head that were directed toward old Zoran probably would make J.D. Vance and Melania quite jealous. So
remember in the Monkees when Davy Jones would look at a girl and like little sparkles would come out?
Notice that they never went the other way. I mean, even though, except of course, Marsha Brady when Davy Jones had a cameo on the Brady Bunch, but that's a whole different episode. But I thought that scene was really, the paragon of performative art by both Trump and by Mamdani. I mean, here's somebody asks Mamdani the question that you called him a fascist,
communist. Oh yeah, right.
And Trump says it's okay. I've heard worse, and he let him answer it, and Mamdani said right there, yeah, I think he's a fascist. But when someone asked Trump if he thought that Mamdani was a jihadist, Trump scaled it back, much to the chagrin of New York gubernatorial candidate and Trump sycophant Elise Stefanik, whose entire thing is calling Mamdani a jihadist, and in fact, double down. But do you think that Mamdani's Machiavellian approach really worked? Because it seems as though he got Trump to back off from sending the National Guard to New York. It looks like Trump is not going to suspend funding to the city, all by sitting there and staying resolute in his boots. Yeah,
I say the same thing. I've been saying the same thing since Trump came on the scene. Mamdani did exactly what you do with a bully. He stood up to him. He stands up to him, and he gives them a little bit of a something. But if you stand up to this guy, I really honestly believe you can have success. That's exactly what he did. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, you got to remember, I doubt very much that Trump looks at it as an insult to be called a fascist, because he is one, and he knows he is one. And I don't think he looks at that the way any of the rest of the world would say if you were called a fascist. So that's a little sidelight. But I think he was rewarded by standing up to him, and then, coming in and meeting. And he is still the mayor of New York. He's not the mayor of Norfolk, Virginia. It's a little bit different. What you're going to start doing to, I don't want to insult the Virginians, but, this is New York City, a little bit different.
I think Steve, since you live in that era, were you a fan of the show The Virginian?
Was that after Purple Rain or before?
Oh my God, it was well before. It was a Western. I mean, even my dad loved that show. We watched it in England.
What's his name? James. Oh God.
Allan.
I think Whitmer did the same thing to some degree, but I think she probably sucked up to him. I don't think Mamdani sucked up to Trump. No. I think Whitmer has, but he suddenly loves Whitmer. It's like, but I don't know how I feel about that. I have very mixed feelings about her going to talk to the guy. But
do you think, Allan, it has a lot to do with moral hazard? I mean, if she would have raised Trump's petulance, I mean, Michigan would have really been screwed.
Yeah. we'd have the National Guard in Detroit by now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if Whitmer really failed, I think that she might have read the room pretty well. Yeah.
She did. No, she accomplished something. I mean, the question is, how much sucking up did she have to do, or did she say, "Hey, motherfucker, don't fuck with me"? I think Mamdani.
You know what? I'm going to guess she did not say, "Hey, motherfucker, don't fuck with me." I'm just going to go with.
She's from the west side of the state. They don't motherfuck over there.
I thought she's from Lansing, so.
It's still
that's
west
of here, Nancy.
West of Oakland County, west side of the state.
And anything west of I-275 is the west side of this state. Don't you know? Well, one person who has definitely, I mean, and maybe Melania needs to take some notes, because the real divorce from Trump seems to be happening by Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has not only announced an early departure from Congress, there is now speculation that others will actually get on that crazy train on the Republican Party and leave as well. Now, what is the reason for this Marjorie Taylor Greene redemption, it seems?
It's possible that she, being a, shall we say, woman of the people, is sensing something that hasn't quite reached the Oval Office yet, which is that we're already looking at a post-Trump Republican Party. I mean, I think that people who have their eyes open and are not completely deluded are seeing what's going on with Trump, and they understand that even if he was sharp as a tack, he's got 3 years left at the most, and at that point it's going to be like the death of Stalin. There's going to be this crazy power, struggle for power. And it's possible that she is maybe just, taking herself out of the circle of ass kissers, and she's ready for the next thing. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to give her that much credit, because she strikes me as such a dim bulb in so many ways. But like Trump, she has a craftiness to her that might be useful.
Have you seen the movie Death of Stalin?
Yes, I loved it.
Oh,
it's one of
brilliant.
my favorites. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think also she saw some reality as she was saying that her children were we're going to have to pay more for health care. I think she became buddy with some of the Epstein victims, and they embraced her as a hero for standing up. And I think she felt a little better that being on that side than being on the other side of viciousness and meanness. And I think she suddenly said, hey, these people are good and they like me. These people are evil and they like me.
I don't think that's.
How about the idea that she just got her congressional pension accrued? She served enough time so that now she's set with that and free health care.
She's one of those people who was posting videos of her doing those ridiculous CrossFit pull-ups, where they kick their legs up in the air and talking about how her immune system was so great. I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene has given one thought to, when she's going to be old. I just don't think it's, and who knows, she may not live that long. So.
Ooh, I thought we were going to have predictions at the end of the year, Nancy. You might want to just keep your powder dry for that one. That's by the way, folks, that's a metaphor that's not to be taken literal.
Okay.
We have some little entertaining videos on Thanksgiving, post-Thanksgiving Day. But
that's right. President Trump participated in the annual Thanksgiving turkey pardoning, passing out pardons to Gobble, Waddle, and Ghislaine.
Today go by the names of Gobble and Waddle. When I first saw their pictures, I thought we should send them, I shouldn't say this. I was going to call them Chuck and Nancy. But then I realized I wouldn't be pardoning them. I would never pardon those two people.
Now, and out of nowhere, took shots at the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois.
The mayor was a low IQ person. The mayor is incompetent, and the governor is a big fat slob.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Wow.
He also called Tim Walz retarded.
He did do that.
Yeah.
Retarded. That word, retarded?
He used that word.
Oh, okay.
He used the R word. Well, he also has expended some venom on 6 Democratic politicians, including our own senator from Michigan, Alyssa Slotkin, for putting together a video urging U.S. military members not to obey illegal orders because they don't have to, which is simply a reiteration of the Uniform Military Code of Conduct. And now we find that Senator Slotkin, her Oakland County home, is the target of bomb threats. And we find that these are threats that are also starting to visit other lawmakers as well. Any updates on this?
What's the confusion?
What is the confusion?
She's saying what she should be saying. It's obvious that you can't obey unlawful orders. Trump's has been giving unlawful orders that have been obeyed. He's going to keep doing that. I think what they're saying they should say. If there was some justice in the world, he'd be tried. He's killing people extrajudicially. He's ordering these strikes extrajudicially. People we know nothing about. He's committing crime.
We were talking.
We have Arizona Senator. Mark Kelly, whose wife actually didn't even get the luxury of a threat. It was actually shot at. Gabby Giffords, herself a congresswoman from Arizona.
Shots, not just shot at. Yes.
And the fact is that now Department of War / Defense Pete Hegseth is pondering reactivating Mark Kelly's military status so that he can then court-martial him.
Well, we were talking a few minutes ago about, Trump's mental decline. And we were saying that, we're getting close to 25th Amendment country now. And this is what that video was about. It was, they were telling people you do not have to follow illegal orders. And so, and then of course the big pushback is, when is he ever given an illegal order? Well, if he hasn't yet, it's coming. And if it is coming, we want people to know that they don't have to follow this. I mean, you don't have to follow a crazy man off a cliff, for God's sake. And that's what, if it takes Alyssa Slotkin getting swatted and getting some pizza sent to her house, I'm sorry, but this is the country that we have been given by this evil man who currently leads it. So,
Steve.
sorry.
I thought it was interesting that all of the 6 who signed on to the video were either former service people or like Slotkin worked with the CIA or whatever. Everybody that was on that thing, it was not random people. They did it on purpose, I'm sure,
right,
that way. And for them to turn around and say that people who were in the military don't know, for instance, that they are not just required, they can't act. They're not supposed to follow illegal orders.
Sure.
That's really all they said. And so the rest of it is all, I thought it was a smart move to have people who had military backgrounds, government backgrounds, CIA backgrounds to do it, not just random 6 people.
Right. And I think that was the basis of it. So
yeah, that would get the attention of service members, which was the point. Is they know who to listen to and they know what they're talking about. Now what they decide to do is going to be the big what if, right?
Allan, why don't we go for a commercial now?
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
All right. Well, as some of you might be out there shopping for Black Friday deals, we find out that the Bureau of Labor Statistics has canceled the release of October's Consumer Price Index, which is a key inflation indicator, claiming that because of the government shutdown, which this government did itself, that there is insufficient data to then accumulate and to compile such information, seemingly to then avoid wondering if, in fact, we are in a higher state of inflation now, notwithstanding the fact that all you have to do is go shopping and see the increase in prices of, everything.
Coffee.
This kind of concealment for an allegedly more transparent government, do you think, particularly among his most ardent supporters, some who I think are getting hit the hardest in the pocketbook, do you think this is going unnoticed?
Wait, the concealment of the numbers?
The concealment of this, or even the kind of Pollyanna thing of saying prices are down. I mean, I think the president said that gas prices are down, which they're not.
Well, Trumpers pride themselves on being real Americans, right? I mean, and one of our great English language Americanism expressions is "Don't piss down my neck and tell me it's raining," right? So if he says gas is $2 a gallon, drive down the street and see what it is in your neck of the woods. It's not $2 a gallon. Maybe if you live in Houston, but nowhere else. And it's, the idea that he's, he just lies. He lies and he lies and he lies. And sooner or later, people are going to say the emperor has no clothes and coffee costs a fortune.
They keep talking about egg prices going down. Well, they're going down because of the bird flu.
Right.
Impacting, and now they're down. The treasurer, what's his name, Besson or whatever, was on TV the other day saying that inflation is much higher in the blue states than the red states, which is totally false. They
load of crap.
They just throw out shit, and people go, yeah, most people don't bother to Google that after he says, because you're like, that doesn't sound right. And he says it's because of policies in those states, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
no, if they didn't believe it before this week, they believe it now, because everyone went shopping. And I know this because I was in friggin' Myers twice this week. and it was like, and I shop a lot. We cook at home. We like to eat. We buy what we want because there's just the two of us. But I was walking around going, I can't afford that. I can't do it. It's so obvious. And this holiday was pricey. This was really something, and they're not going to release those numbers either, but anybody that still would say at this point, that things don't cost more. They're nuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, my turkey's still in layaway, Barb. So, Steve.
Barb, I think your point is really well taken. This whole business, presidents in general. Remember when George Bush Sr. was shocked at what the price of, was it eggs or milk or something like that? They don't live like normal people, and rich people.
It wasn't broccoli, Steve.
Well, whatever it was. My point is that what Barb is saying is absolutely true. I don't care who you are. All you have to do is go to the store, whether it's Myers or Whole Foods or wherever you're going, and nobody is going to believe. No one's going to believe a guy, whether it's Trump or anybody else, when he starts telling you the prices are down, when your own eyes and your own pocketbook are showing you that they're not. So the fact that he's a huge liar, which we already know, and whether or not the MAGA people are going to turn on him and say, "Oh, I'm not going to support him anymore." I don't know that that's what would happen, but you can't bullshit people when they're in the supermarkets paying out of their own pocket, and I think that's where we're at with all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too.
Well, closer to home, we have an issue that might actually affect both the outgoing mayor of Detroit and the incoming mayor of Detroit over demolitions. What are we hearing about this potential controversy, Allan?
Well, we've got one of the providers, one of the demolition guys, the owners, who's been suspended in September. The inspector general did an investigation and found that it was a high percentage of lots where he filled in dirt after demolitions, and found out that highly contaminated. I think it was like 60% of those that were contaminated, like people weren't even supposed to have human contact. So what you have right now is that contractor had a romantic relationship with our mayor-elect, and so she hasn't handled it well. I mean, her chief of staff had said, yeah, but she voted against all the contracts, which is totally 100% false. She approved $404 million in contracts in just 1 year. And then there were multi-million dollars in other ways. And then what Elric had brought up in his Free Press column was that, the opponents might use that against Duggan, because Duggan in 2020 was promoting this guy during his State of the City address. He was talking up this guy as an example of great minority businesses in the city, of making all this great money. And so now the guy has created a disaster potentially in the city, where they're going to have to do something to get rid of that soil, and they're going to have to dig it up. It's going to be very expensive. Duggan, and Duggan takes some responsibility for that, and Mary Sheffield as well. So we've got a little scandal there. I mean, there's rumors of, investigations going on into this whole thing, but who knows? So.
Well, that's also not the only scandal happening here in Detroit. Allan, I guess we should ask the question, does Shri or doesn't Shri? Looks like...
I'm sorry.
It looks like our congressman from the 13th district of Michigan, Shri Tanadar, is sending mixed signals about whether he accepts corporate PAC money. Barb, you're nodding your head about this. Are you following it?
Whatever Shri does just smells like a lie. Every single thing that guy does, just, I don't know. I'm glad that I am not anywhere near that section of the Detroit.
The interesting intersection with Shri and Reverend Horace Sheffield was that Horace Sheffield had a show on 9:10 a.m. and he was promoting Shri and getting him on the show and talking him up the whole time. It ended up that he was on Shri's payroll essentially, and so he got fired from 9:10 a.m. for that. Like suddenly, what I loved about 9:10 a.m. was that, with the exception, there were definitely some upstanding people, but there were a lot of people who had criminal records. Christine Beatty, judges who've been kicked off the bench, and then Kevin Adele, the owner, would be like, "Oh my God, they did something unethical. I'm going to have to get rid of them."
I think I wrote a story about that for Deadline.
Yeah. So it's so comical.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole station was just like, you know,
it was a rogues gallery, as they say. Yeah.
But isn't Detroit politics just like that? Detroit politics has always been like the 1930s in Chicago or New York or something. It's like we can never get it right here. We can't do it.
Well,
Steve.
I have a question for people who get into politics and then seem to always have their hand out or their hand in someone else's pocket or whatever. But my question always that I think about is, okay, you did it, but you keep on doing it. How much is enough? I mean, what do they have to have? 3 fancy cars or 2 fancy cars? It's astounding to me that it just continues and continues. People get indicted. People like Lengel write articles about all the stuff that's going on. Elric writes articles, and they continue to do it. They don't even pause. They just keep doing it. And I've just not been around enough politicians to give an answer to that. Maybe you guys can enlighten me on that.
And, you know, I did a story. I did several stories in D.C., the president of the teachers union and the vice president. They stole, I think, a total of like $10 million. And when they raided the home of the president, they went in her closet. She had stuff like fur coats that had never been taken out, but it still had wrappers on them. The TVs, you know, the big screen TVs were still in boxes. It was like they felt the need to buy something, even though they didn't need it.
One of the most predictable and sad stories that you will see in the course of your life if you pay attention to the papers is about, you know, it'll be some dumpy housewife or man or a woman who has embezzled X amount of dollars from the youth hockey league, the church, you know, some organization. Pardon me?
The Detroit Conservancy?
The Detroit Conservancy was the same story, just on a much larger scale. And then they say, you know, there's always a question, can we claw back the money? And the money has always been spent, and it has been spent on the saddest, most pathetic things. Jewelry from the Home Shopping Channel, you know, ringside seats to an MMA match in Las Vegas. You know,
Carnival Cruise,
exactly. And it's like, you know, generally speaking, I like to reserve my contempt and the question of when do you have enough for people like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or, you know, people who are truly obscenely wealthy. But because every time they're photographed or they have publicity for their jet, their private jet, or the yacht that they just had commissioned that was so huge, they had to disassemble a bridge in the Netherlands to get it out of the shipyard, you know, all that stuff. And that just feeds into people who want to do, you know, who want to rob the hockey team. You know, it's so sad. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, you do know, Nancy, that the average altitude in the Netherlands is 50 meters below sea level. So
well, I realize that, but at the same time, it's like they if you have a shipyard on the other side of the bridge and everything they've managed to make until Jeff Bezos's yacht fit under the fucking bridge, it's like this is a problem. Anyway, sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
I think, forgetting the Jeff Bezoses of the world, of the 7 deadly sins, jealousy is the worst one. And that's what cramps so much of this. It's astounding to me that, for instance, on my block here in Southfield, if some guy came in and he had 14 Rolls Royces sitting in his driveway, I'm going to say, oh my God, I need to get a Rolls Royce. I mean, if you can control anything, I tell my kids this, and I throw it out there to anybody that's listening to this thing. If you can control the notion of being jealous of other people's possessions, you got a decent chance of being a happy person. Because if you're the type who is jealous all the time, it doesn't matter what you have or how much you have. You're always going to be looking at the next person and going, but look at that guy or look at that lady. That to me is the bottom of all of this.
Isn't there a proverb, something like comparison is the thief of joy, something like that? That's very true. And it's the same idea. It's like, if you're always looking at what somebody else has and ruining the day that you don't have it, you're right, Steve. That's very good advice for a father to give their children.
Barb.
I also think that some people just shouldn't have that much money. We can't handle it. if I came into $1 billion, I'd probably be dead in 6 weeks. I would just, even though I know better, even though I'm smart, I tell myself that I'd have all the Kamayu wine, and I would have all the things that I shouldn't have, and it's like, I always think that if Elvis Presley hadn't gotten as unbelievably famous and wealthy, he would be an old man right now. He'd be an old man sitting on his porch in Tupelo with a guitar and a bunch of grandchildren,
and he'd be happy. Yeah,
and he'd
exactly.
be happy.
Yeah.
And nothing that happened to him in his life made him happy, because what does a truck driver from Tupelo do with unlimited money? And it's like people that win the lottery, they're always miserable.
Mm-hmm. After a while,
we should not have money.
Barb, the late and great Manchester United football player George Best once said that he spent most of his money on booze, birds, and fast cars, and the rest he just squandered. So
that's one of the greatest lines in the history of sports.
I don't follow sports.
I blew it on booze, drugs, and drugs. The rest I just wasted.
And he should have known. No, I mean, and it's true. I mean, the poor guy went through 2 livers before finally dying.
He Mickey mantled them.
Yeah, Mickey mantled his liver. So there you go.
Pretty much. So on the media front here in Detroit, it looks like Sinclair Broadcasting is set its sights on WXYZ Channel 7. That might stir things up in a way similar to the Ellisons buying CBS, and of course that's going to go real well. Allan,
it's so dangerous. I mean, they're a compromised company. I mean, when you have edicts coming from headquarters to all your stations that you have to do this and you have to read this, and they're meddlers. I mean, they were the ones who wouldn't air Jimmy Kimmel's show, and it's a dangerous company. And WXYZ, has had independence. I mean, I don't think anyone can criticize them for being compromised, but they will be compromised if Sinclair buys them.
Well, there's always alternatives here in Detroit, Allan, including WDIV. This is not a paid or an unpaid endorsement, but our good friend Devin Skillian, who sometimes appears on the show, was for many years an anchor over there.
Right.
Can I ask, how many of you guys rely on local television for local news? I mean, Allan, you've got cable. You've always got your TV on. I've been over to your apartment before, and it's, you watch a lot of local TV. I don't, and I'm just wondering.
Rely is such a strong word, Nancy. I mean, I consult the I Ching twice an hour. Steve.
It's an interesting question. When's the last time I watched local news? I can't remember if it was right before Purple Rain or right after Purple Rain, but it's been over 40 years. Over 40 years. I have not turned on the television during the news for over 40 years. I can tell you
the same way.
Fish, it just occurred to me that time of of Purple Rain that you have as this important milestone and marker of time. 1984 was also the year that the Tigers won the World Series.
That's true.
I'm surprised you don't mention that. You go to the purple one from Minnesota, who then beat us 3 years later. I'm just saying. Allan.
I mean, it's interesting when you watch local news now, DIV, XYZ, Fox 2, whatever. A lot of these reporters, I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm watching like Lansing News or Traverse City News, where you see they're hiring a lot more inexperienced, cheaper reporters, where it used to be Detroit was a big market. It was like anyone, who was in the business, who wanted the career climb, would jump at the opportunity of it. And Detroit's a great news town anyway.
Yeah.
But you're seeing such young people there, which is good to have a mix, but it seems like they're really
It's like being in Fort Wayne again, where we used to live, where we had an anchor. I remember watching it with some friends of mine where we had the TV on, and she goes, "News from the Cannes Film Festival." It was just like, so it was, I mean, that was the kind of thing that happened all the time. And in a lot of ways, it kind of made it amusing to watch local news there, because the screw ups and and But here it's like they mispronounce words. You're right. I mean, they hire younger and younger people and they pay them less and less. I mean, they just had that giant buyout at WDIV like a year ago when Devin took it, and Tim Pamplin and all those other people. So there you go.
That was my very first interview out of college, because there were no jobs out there. I went up to Cadillac, Michigan to interview for a weatherman job.
You would have been great. I can just
the snow.
It's gonna be a schlep. You're gonna have to chuck your shovel.
It's good to have a 6'5" weatherman. I think that helps the presentation.
Did you ever see the reel of the Mexican weather lady who her weathercasts are all in Spanish, but she has this incredible Vargas girl body. You know, she's got giant boobs and a nice protruding butt, and she'll turn sideways, and she dresses in really tight outfits, and she turns sideways to point at her weather map, and all that. You can see all the Mexican men like, ay. But anyway,
I don't see any clouds.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be into dinner in a minute, honey. I gotta watch the weather report.
Well, Steve, I got to ask you the question. It looks like ex-Piston Chauncey Billups is free on a $5 million bond after pleading not guilty in the rigged poker case. Any idea how this is going to go, or is it just going to be a slow crawl until we go to trial?
My guess is it'll be a slow crawl, and then they'll enter into some kind of a plea deal. I don't know what they have, but it's a federal case, correct? It's a federal case, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
out of Brooklyn.
Just so the viewers know, a $5 billion personal bond doesn't mean any more than a $5 personal bond. He's out on personal bond. That's all that matters. He didn't have to put up the money. I'm sure he didn't have to put up the money.
He had to put his home in Colorado up for collateral or something. I was kind of shocked.
Seriously?
Yeah, I'm shocked that I covering federal court, and you know better than I was shocked that they had a bond like that. It said that he had to put his home. He put his home up as collateral, and I'm just, why would they do that? Why do you think they did that?
I have no idea. We don't do that in the Eastern District of Michigan. Either you get bond, or you get no bond. And when you get bond, you don't have to put anything up. I mean, maybe in 1% of the case. And if you guys are saying he put his house up, then okay, fine. But you're answering what's going to happen in the case. They're going to get all the discovery. They're going to look and see. If it's, they had microphones and things in there, supposedly. If it's indefensible, his lawyer's going to tell him, look, we got to make a deal. And then they'll make a deal. If they go to trial, they better win, because when you go to trial in federal court and you don't win, for all kinds of reasons, you wind up getting more time.
So I must have seen an AI-generated picture, Fish, because I saw Billups leaving the courthouse in a green felt suit with a briefcase of chips and 4 decks of cards. That must have been fake. All right, Allan, let's go to the last segment.
Downtown Detroit, Robert Wells, Schmuck of the Week.
All right. Well, unfortunately, Joel Sklar had some technical difficulties, and so he had to leave. Joel, sorry, buddy, that you had to. Hope you have a great weekend. If anyone's got a spare schmuck, you can go ahead and proxy Joel on that. Steve, who's yours?
Well, mine is really not going to fit in too well to this thing. My schmuck of the week is whoever the odds maker was. I don't know how much attention any of you guys paid to the tournament out in Las Vegas that the University of Michigan played in, but they played Gonzaga in the finals of it on Wednesday. And the odds makers said that Michigan was a 1.5 point favorite, which led most people who were watching to think, my God, Gonzaga must be pretty damn good, because Michigan just beat the first 2 teams by 40 and 30. That game was over within the first 5 minutes. Michigan beat them 101-61. So my schmuck of the week is who looked at those 2 teams and thought they were 1.5 points different. And I'm watching the game thinking, God, I thought Gonzaga was a little better than this. And then I realized I have told you guys this, and I told everybody
Gonzaga and the points.
I predicted before the season started that we're going to win the national championship, and I have no reason to back off from that, particularly after watching what happened to Gonzaga on Wednesday. So that's my
you do mean in basketball, not football, right, Fish?
Yes, of course.
Basketball. We're a basketball school. Don't you guys understand that? Michigan's a basketball school. We're
Any
not a
predictions
football
on
school.
the game tomorrow?
They've got a great team.
Well,
Michigan.
Steve, we
I
are
have no comment on the
No
game
comment?
tomorrow.
Okay.
No
Steve,
comment.
we are world-renowned center of higher learning, don't you know? But
By the way, a friend told me that the Ohio State coach said the 2 worst days of his life when he lost to Michigan and when his parents died or something.
Right, that's right.
And you're like, Jesus Christ.
How can you not root for Michigan when the Ohio State coach says stuff like that?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I want to give this guy the next worst day of his life.
Actually, didn't they die because he lost to Michigan?
Well, that's usually. I mean, how many has Ryan Day lost now to Michigan? It's been like 3.
4 games. He's won 4 against
4 in a row.
Okay.
It's been 2,139 days or something since Ohio State has beat Michigan. Yes.
Well, if they don't win tomorrow, then he's going to really be in trouble because they're, I'd say, 2 or 3 touchdowns better than we are. So
I was just going to say they're number 1.
They're really amazing.
They got some great players.
But at the same time, I would love for Michigan to upset them so that I can text my high school reunion, which is having a little happy hour, and I was like, I would love to just smear you guys' face in all of this, but I won't. So anyway.
Well, if anybody wants to go in on an airplane banner that says "Sweep the leg" for Jeremiah Smith, just let me know. But Barb,
I have my usual, Matt Hall, lacking transparency in Michigan, just being a Republican as he does. But I actually have maybe it's more of a pet peeve than a schmuck, but people that don't say their T's, important, kitten,
Canton.
It's driving me crazy, and I looked it up, and it's called T-glottalization. But I knew that it had gone too far when I heard it on NPR, which is you'd think that people would be able to talk on there. I'm getting a bottle of water. I'm waiting for a letter. So that, and it's beginning to really make me nuts.
What's it called, Barb?
T-glottalization.
The T gets waylaid back here at the back of your throat.
How do they say T-Mobile?
The T side. See, I thought it was Tourette syndrome, but okay.
No, it really and a real fast one. Have you guys heard that young people, when anything crazy goes on in Detroit, they go, "Oh, Detroit, Marie, Michigan." They've given Detroit a middle name.
I'm sorry. What was it again? You broke up.
Crazy on I-94. Oh, Detroit, Marie, Michigan. I have. In the last 4 days, it's come up all over the place, and it's a little funny, but it's about to get super annoying. So Detroit does not have a middle name.
Detroit, Marie, Michigan. Okay, Nancy.
Like your mother yelling at you, Barbara Jones.
It's better than Karen, but
I had another. I had another trough of a mood this week after reading the news, and I try to avoid giving it to Trump, but that scene at the turkey pardoning was dispiriting and disgusting because, the turkey pardoning is that silly, fluffy thing that happens every year during Thanksgiving week. It's the sort of thing that that people can laugh about. It's one moment out of Washington that should be free of partisanship. Although Fox News flipped out when Obama made kind of a sign of a cross like a priest does with with his hand over the turkeys a few years ago. But anyway, for him to turn the turkey pardoning into that, insult fest. I mean, he's not Rodney Dangerfield. Rodney Dangerfield's insults were funny. These were they were repulsive, and I've gotten to the point where I'm starting to wear my "Is he dead yet?" t-shirt freely in public now. I don't care who I offend. I'm just so sick of this whole shit show. And so Donald Trump, he is the schmuck of the week, year, millennium for the rest of his fucking life because he's just repulsive. So
God, man, we're only 24 years into this millennium. Dang. Okay. It's the same revulsion I had when Rolling Stone named U2 Band of the Decade in 1984. So, yeah. Alan.
I'm going to go with.
And by the way, Steve, that 1984 was when Purple Rain came out. So
it's true. Yeah.
I don't know any songs by that group you just said either, so I don't even know who's in that group. They didn't sing at the Fox with the Motown Review when I was there, so that's for sure.
They had this song called Shamrock Beret, Steve. So yeah. Okay, Alan.
The kind you wear on St. Patrick's Day.
I'm going to go with Pam Bondi, who has vowed to appeal the tossing of the cases against Jim Comey and Letitia James, because she believes that no one's above the law, which is the sickest thing for her to say, considering
who she works for.
Yeah, just the horrendous stuff that's going on in the Justice Department. I mean, people are leaving in scores. The Justice Department, the FBI, her and Kash Patel have just turned that into a just total shit show. But anyway,
there's some rumblings that Kash Patel might be headed to the exits, and there was a very hastily arranged photo op where they brought him into the Oval Office to have a picture with thumbs up with Trump. So because apparently he's very premature with sending out the communiques on some of the deals.
He gets out over his skis often.
Well over his skis, yeah. Okay. Who are we up to? Alan?
I just
you just give yours?
You?
All right. Well, so it's me. Okay. Well, I'm gonna, on behalf of Joel, since none of you stepped up to the plate, I've got two. Either one can be attributed for Joel. So, U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, he a man of God, he who should be very busy in particularly this part of the world with diplomacy and everything else, apparently has a side hustle where he is peddling sleep supplements on cable TV, Relaxium sleep pills, as a matter of fact. This from a man who just by his very nature breeds narcolepsy, as if anybody else would need anything from him. And the other one is Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt,
right,
whose own nephew, Michael, who's 11 years old, has actually his mother in detention by ICE, Bruna Carolina Ferreira, who is the mother of her, actually the son's name I don't know, but Caroline Leavitt's brother Michael from New Hampshire, is detained, and the family is desperately imploring her to use whatever influence she has, because every now and then she catches the president's eye, after all, to see if maybe they can have the mother of her nephew released from detention. And so far, it doesn't look good. So Caroline Leavitt, for proving again that impotence is not just something that your husband might have, you're my schmuck of the week. So there you go. Thank you for being here. I am grateful to all of you for having the opportunity to do this every Friday, and grateful to still be standing upright in very hurricane-like conditions, politically, culturally, economically, and otherwise. Thank you to our audience. Thank you to Jack White for just really representing Detroit on the national stage with an amazing halftime show, along with Eminem, for unfortunately a Lions defeat, but nonetheless it was probably kind of even Steven. The Lions lost, but so did the Chiefs, so not bad. Thank you, Steve Fishman. Thank you, Barb Ingalls. Thank you, Nancy Derringer.
The Bears play today at 3 p.m.
And who does?
The Bears.
The Bears play today.
Philly at 3 p.m.
Bears.
Ooh, the Bears and the Eagles.
Yeah.
Last word, as always, Allan Lengel.
Drive home safely.
Take care, everybody. Have a